What's up guys, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the Sony A7 III, and yes, I finally took the leap. I went full frame, guys. Now I know this camera is pretty old, it's been out for quite some time, but being that I switched over to Sony and I was actually looking for a full frame sensor, something that would have much better low light capabilities, since like I'd mentioned previously, I'm trying to get into the wedding game and I need that extra push, you know, that extra help that a full frame camera will really offer, and my Sony A64s can't really do that. So I actually sold one of my Sony A6400s to be able to get this beast. Now I've only had this camera for a couple weeks and I haven't really talked about it because I really wanted to use it more. I still feel like I need to use it way more. I haven't really made a good video on it, but I wanted to talk about why I got this camera and why I still think it's a really good camera in 2020. Now first off, the eye autofocus, it's still insane. The Sony A6400, to my knowledge, has a better autofocus system, but the Sony A7 III definitely does not lag one bit. I actually went to a styled shoot a couple days ago and I had no issue with this camera finding the eyes. It was amazing. Now I'm definitely gonna get into a style shoot in another video, so I'll probably be linking it right here in the future, so stay tuned for that. Now full frame, I wanted the low light capabilities like I mentioned because I'm trying to be shooting more weddings, and the Sony A64, although already has really good low light capabilities, a full frame body will just give you much more leeway on that, and for that reason I really wanted to get a full frame camera. So the A7 III was obviously my first choice, and I actually, as soon as I got this, I got to shoot the IMCX, the Influential Marketing Convention and Expo in LA, which I shot everything on a 70-200mm lens, and it was so easy when it came down to editing. I was shooting this thing at a pretty high ISO and I didn't get a single bit of grain on the images. I was totally impressed on that. That convention was actually really cool. I was there shooting with a friend of mine and I was actually clapping at some points because it was really good stuff that they were saying. And then I would realize, and my friend would remind me, that I'm the photographer and I'm not supposed to clap. When you're shooting an event, you photograph the event. You don't participate in the event. Another thing that I love about this camera is that it has much more dials than my Sony A6400, and I really miss that. I used to have a Nikon D750, which was full frame camera, and it had much more dials that I really enjoyed using, because with the Sony A64, although it does get the job done, I really hate how the shutter speed and the ISO are on the same dial. And with this, I now have a specified dial for the shutter speed, and my ISO is down here so I don't get it mixed up. That's one thing that had been happening on the A64, and I didn't want to deal with that on a high stress situation. Now the battery life is amazing compared to the Sony A6400. Yes, the batteries on this thing are much bigger, so for that, these will last at least a couple of hours. I haven't had any issues. Honestly, I don't even think I've had to change the battery on them. So battery life on the Sony A7 III, definitely a huge upgrade coming from the Sony A6400. Now in-body stabilization, yes, I actually have been shooting a lot of my B-roll with this camera. I'm sure you guys noticed how much smoother it looks compared to my prior videos. Just throwing this on a gimbal with the in-body stabilization of this and the stabilization of my gimbal, it makes a huge difference on all the B-roll that I've been shooting, and honestly I can't be happier than that. Now should you buy a Sony A7 III? I think if you're trying to get into making this as a professional line of work, definitely need to get a full frame body. It really gets the job done much easier. But is it necessary? I would say no, it definitely is not necessary. You can get it done with an A64 or any camera in reality, but if it's going to come to printing out much bigger stuff, you want more detail in your images, you want more low light capabilities, you want to be able to do more stuff faster and a little bit have more reliability on your camera, then I would definitely recommend you go for that full frame camera. And they were actually on sale. I believe they're at $1,800 right now at Adorama. That's why I decided to get this. I don't think it's that bad compared to how much they used to cost. Now we do have some cameras coming up, and yes, the price might drop a little bit more, but I kind of doubt it, as the A7 II did drop price a while ago, but it had already been out in the market for years. Now you all have probably heard of that new Canon camera coming out, which it is insane. I still feel like there's gonna be something that they're not talking about, because that literally was how it was with the EOS R and the RP. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully not, because then that just means that Sony has to step up their game, that Fuji and all the other cameras out there have to really put in more work, and it's not just Sony leading the pack and, you know, everyone else not doing anything, not really putting pressure on Sony. So hopefully it is true and Sony blows them out of the water with their next camera. That would be really, really awesome. But the more competition we have, the better it is for all of us. All right guys, if you guys found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it, and it's really been helping out the growth of it. If you guys found this helpful, also drop a like. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, you know, drop them down there, and I'll see you guys on the next video.